Good morning, Samoa, and welcome to Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 4, Episode 9, The Inner Fight, where Nick Liccardo is a character who now actually there's a reason for him not to just be Tom Paris. You would probably remember him as, hey, look, that's Tom Paris from Star Trek The Next Generation Lower Decks. And, knowing that, you might recall that Sito Jaxa, I love how they put these spoiler banners on the top memory alpha pages, but the fact that this spoiler banner is here is itself a spoiler. But yeah, Sito Jaxa was one of the people with Nick and all those other ensigns. Alex is here, actually. I gotta be a little vague on this storyline. Exactly, stop paying attention.
I heard my name.
I was talking about how I gotta be vague on this storyline. But yeah, oh, I forgot to hit recording again. Start recording.
Are we actually live this time?
Yeah, we are.
Are you sure?
Yeah, best of Trek, worst of Trek. Look at you go. You're actually live this week. But yeah, Sito Jaxa, being one of the ensigns involved in the incident with those shuttlecrafts. I wish I have a camera because I could just get my, like, model of one of these. Well, I mean, the episode explained it, the shuttlecraft accident thing. And then she got back to the Enterprise for the hit episode Lower Decks. Actually, hang on. Nick Liccardo's not from Lower Decks. He's from The First Duty. Damn it, I should have known that. But yes, she went to the Enterprise for an episode and then died. Well, actually, that's a point. She's presumed died. That they theoretically could just All right, we're back. See, those are the kind of problems I expect. Yeah, now I'm on live. Though that's what I thought happened last time. I think I know what's happening. Is it? All right. Hopefully that wasn't too much. Yeah, there was an error in OBS, which happens every now and then. And sometimes it takes me a while to catch. You're probably wondering how we arrived on the memory alpha page for Parking Brake. But yeah, I got Picard Season 3 on Blu-ray today, and I was backing it up, but I don't actually have enough space on my, like, 10 terabyte hard drive. Yeah, they take up a lot. So I'm condensing files down. Basically, in the background, oh, look, there's buffering. In the background, I've got, something running that's converting my Doctor Who Season 17 from big files to small files. 16 minutes, we're just gonna have, hang on, let me resolve this, technical difficulties. Basically, there's a program running in the background I can't stop, but I can, tell it to go away and stop using my PC. I was like 2 minutes late from stopping it in time, but it's, blame, Doctor Who Season 17, Episode 1, Part 2, Destiny of the Daleks Remastered. Let's see. Go to details. Select affinity. And you are now allowed half of one core. Have fun with that. Alright, that should help. If there's problems, I'll work it out. But there shouldn't be anything in like 15 minutes. That should resolve itself. Nothing ever works. Yeah, probably shouldn't be eating up computer resources while live streaming. Yeah, I know. But there's a pause button. I didn't know that I couldn't pause in the middle of an episode. I can probably, in fact, hang on. Do you wish to proceed? Yes, there we go. Go away. It's gone now. It's not eating computer resources. Okay, we can properly start. If you waited all this time for me to explain to you who Nick and Sito are, I would be impressed, but I just wanted us all to be on the same page. Are we still live? There's a question. Yeah, okay, we're still going. This episode, that only took about 5 minutes to get into. It's not receiving enough for a smooth live stream. I know. We'll work on it. This episode, I'm a little mixed on. There's plenty of good, plenty of bad. It really picked up. Where's the moment it picked up? About here. It really picked up. Before then, I felt the plot was very, even the cold open was very, and then, which was a little disengaging. But after that point, when we started getting to the character development stuff, I like that a lot more. I like the story of Mariner and how it's progressing. This is probably like the big moment, maybe like the apex, or at least one of the apexes in Mariner's development. As of course I've said plenty of times before, Mariner is the main character of Lower Decks. The story of Lower Decks is a story of Mariner, very much so. And I think this episode gives even more evidence to that, if Mike McMahon himself was not enough. Oh, look at me, I'm like a boomer teacher. But yeah, how do I want to split this one? So I don't want to start with all the negative stuff. Yeah, no, I think it's really well done. It's a victim of one of the pitfalls of Lower Decks, where it likes to resolve its stuff very quickly. It's kind of the pattern of the story where we started off this season basically introducing the unease that Mariner feels about her promotion, and then we kind of sat in that state for a season. Then right at the end, we went, okay, here we go. Here's all the reasons, and also she's overcome it. Is kind of something they've done a lot for their main arcs, which isn't terrible. There were some parts that felt a little rushed, but other than that, I very much like it. I think it could have been, this is more a consequence of not having longer seasons, but it could have benefited from a few more episodes where we actually see Mariner really risking her life in missions. We're kind of just told it. I mean, the Ferengi episode where things supposedly changed, there were 2 episodes between that and now. One of them is Caves, which wasn't particularly dangerous, and the other was the Badgie episode, where Mariner did rush off to, like, the enemy ship with Rutherford, basically to die. So, you know, it's not like they haven't been showing it, but I think we really could have benefited with a few more episodes in between, like when Paris in Voyager has the arc where he's kind of pretending to be more rebellious. There's like 4 or 5 episodes where he's a lot more rebellious and talking back before he eventually gets demoted. We kind of sit in it for a bit. But other than that, I like, I mean, here we go. Now the positives. I really like kind of what we're getting. I like, especially in the title, like kind of the bit surprise moment, that we're kind of continuing the story of the TNG episode Lower Decks, that these actions from the past are having consequences we're now living on. But especially for the time period where we're set, like right after Nemesis. This is directly continuing that 24th century block of TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, where we go, that was the start with kind of Mariner. That's pretty late TNG, so I think we had the Borg. We had Wolf 359, which presumably was before Mariner's time as an officer, like maybe the Academy. When was, hang on, let me check this. When is that? Oh, and look, I still have Nick's page open. The first duty, is that like 4 or 5? Season 5 of TNG. And yeah, Best of Both Worlds is like season 3. So, but you know, it was still pretty calm. Not Best of Both Worlds. Yeah, sorry, Best of Both Worlds is, when the Federation starts kind of leaving its century of peace and prosperity. And so you have Mariner, you know, they joined for the Starry-Eyed Starfleet, you know, all the reasons you join in that era. And then she lost her best friend. And then the Dominion came. I mean, the Borg even kept coming. What's Barclay's line? Every single major power has challenged the Federation in the past 10 years, and we're just now coming out of that, really. Between Nemesis and Picard, there aren't many big threats. Like, there are big things that happen. There's the supernova. There are incidents that are, like, very briefly the fleet is in danger. And even then, like, Picard itself, very briefly the fleet is in danger. But we're entering a bit more of a stable period, I feel, after the Dominion War. And kind of like Mariner going through everything she is to kind of get past this, and like, well, Starfleet isn't what I thought it was. I don't want to be the person. I don't want to be Cisco, who sends all the people into war to die. I don't want to be, the captain who fights the Borg. I could easily see the story going where she's going through this, but also the Federation as a whole is going through this. Like, okay, we've just come out of the biggest war since the Romulan War, like 200 years ago. How do we be Starfleet again? And so I really like the resolutions they've done with the Mariner plotline so far. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing it progress in the future seasons, because I believe we have a season 5 confirmed. Not that that means much nowadays. But Jack's Law, there is that new cartoon, Scavenger's Reign. This whole show felt like they see why that show is doing well. I am not familiar with that show. I think Lower Decks just understands that you need good characters and good stories, and it knows how to write them. Like I said, later in this stream, we're going to criticize, like, literally half of this episode for not being the best written story. But, the focus was on this bit. And, that, I think that's where they put the focus of the writing, and the rest was kind of to get Mariner to this cave. That's the whole point of the first part of the story. And also to get Nick in here for the next episode. Now, that's not an excuse. You can still write a really well-done story that gets Mariner to the cave and introduces Nick. That's not just and then, and then, and then, and then, and then, and then. But, at least the focus was where it mattered, Well, they're just showing us why she has to be more than everyone else. In her head, it's not just her life on the line. Exactly. And we had this a bit with Boimler. They're now genuinely in charge of people's lives. They could go on a mission where people die. They probably won't, but, like, it's a possibility. But it's deeper with Mariner because of the experience with Sito. And, of course, she actually went through the Dominion War. She kind of entered Starfleet as an officer right around the time a century of peace and prosperity was coming to an end. Like, TOS is a little crazy. I remember seeing a great thing with the Lower Decks crossover, where it was amazing seeing how much more cosmopolitan the 24th century was. Where, like, in Lower Decks, you insinuate that all Orions are pirates, and that's like a cultural faux pas. That's a offensive, but ultimately in the grand scheme of things, harmless thing. In Strange New Worlds, it could literally start a war. It's kind of that's what happened in the century, like, after TOS. What was it? Undiscovered Country. After the Khitomer Accords, we basically went from a world where one wrong world could literally plunge the quadrant into war, into a very peaceful, stable, interconnected galaxy right up until Wolf 359, where everything starts coming. And that's when Mariner joined the Federation, is right when it seriously changed. Whereas everyone else, Rutherford, Tendi, Boimler, kind of joined right after. Like, the first episode, Lower Decks, is literally Tendi's first day. And sure, they still, went through the war. They went to the academy at a time where the Federation was in, like, a total war footing. But that's not going to be the same. They were less likely to have friends who died in that war, because their friends were more likely to be in the academy with them. They'd remember Paradise Lost, but that's kind of the only thing they would have experienced directly. So will she be if someone dies and they're all just red shirts still? That could be a very interesting direction to take the story, actually. I don't know about next season, or maybe near the end of next season, that kind of facilitates the story for season 6, is someone actually does die on Mariner's watch, or like she actually does have to, kind of in her words, be the general who orders one of her ensigns to die. And kind of having to come to terms with that, and with Sito. I think that could be a very interesting direction to take it. I'm sure we've had kind of similar stories. I mean, Wesley went through something in his, like, psych evaluation that was basically that. I think Troy has something similar in her test. But that could be a very... I could see Lower Decks telling that story well. Yeah, we've been on this frame for quite a while now. I mean, that's really kind of the meat of the episode. There's the stuff with Nick. Before I forget it, though, I want to say how much I love this little gag. It's a little, like, it's a little referencey until the fact it's not actually a puppet. But even the fact that the mouth just moves slowly up and down. Hang on. Where's the scene? Where the mouth just slowly moves up and down like the one in TOS. That's a good one. And this plot actually was pretty good. Like, again, I'm a little muddied on the message, because I don't think it's entirely without merit, especially with Freeman specifically, that the Federation and Starfleet can be kind of demeaning of anyone who's not kind of inside them. I kind of like this, what the story was doing. Like, it is a haven of crime, but, like, they do have the little bureaucracy rules. Like, you do just need a reservation. You do have, like, parking permits in orbit, essentially, because, like, there is some base level of society you need. But then it was like, no, actually, I took advantage of their biases to get the information. And I was like, well, I don't know if their biases are entirely unmerited. Like, how much of that was acting? How much of that was actually Freeman just genuinely not expecting something worse than things were? It was a little muddied, but, it was a clever solution. Maybe it could have executed a little better, or I guess the real problem is kind of the thing she was taking advantage of was that the Federation undermines people who aren't don't adhere to their laws. And when you don't know that's what she's doing, it looks like they're right. It's kind of the problem. It's like, well, yeah, Was this a B story? I don't even know after watching it. Yep, it was... I mean, the big part of this was just to get Nick in for next episode, but if we just watch me scroll through here, a minority of the screen time is spent on this plot line. The vast majority is with everyone else. I mean, I think there are 3 scenes. There's Orbit trying to get into the bar, this, and the end. So there's like... If you even count the end, there's like 4 scenes. And the end scene directly ties into this scene with Mariner, where, like, we learn Nick's behind this. So I don't even know if it counts. But also, kudos, like, we knew it was someone we'd recognize, because otherwise there's no point to the mystery. I bet Nick Locarno was not a name that was thrown around a lot in if at all, for who's buying this episode. I wouldn't be surprised though. I'd be a little surprised if we do next episode. Whoops, but I'd be a bit surprised if Sito doesn't show up later, because she was presumed KIA. We never actually found her. I'm checking right now, though. I'm curious if the actress is still alive. It looks like it. She's like 50-ish now. But, yep. So, theoretically, you could bring them back with the same character. They're the same actress. Really hope Tom Paris shows up. I mean, that would be easy. Because you literally have, it's Robert Duncan McNeil, isn't it? Yep, Robert Duncan McNeil, here. I think he is no, he's one of two. I was gonna say, is he the only legacy actor to reprise their role more than once in Modern Trek? But no, Dr. Crusher did show up in Prodigy. Well, at least she lent her voice talents in Prodigy. But yeah, there's not a lot that have shown up recurringly. I was kind of expecting Seven, because like we set up Seven, Thomas, and Beverly, all of who you had on set for Picard, like all the time. So actually, it probably wouldn't be the most difficult thing to bring them over for a brief scene. I don't know when the filming dates lined up. But yeah, other than Tom, those three people were on set nearby, like, just filming Picard, so who knows? I think, isn't that how they got Riker, in the first season? He was on set for Nepenthe, or like directing and stuff. They're like, hey, Riker, you want to come? I think that's what happened. That would be cool. I'd be interested to see how Lower Decks does 7. Because would this be like pre-Icheb? Yeah, because Icheb died because the neutral zone wasn't as heavily policed for reasons that I'm going to be vague about with Alex in the room. But so Seven's probably just like a bog standard Starfleet officer nowadays. It is pre-Icheb. Cool. That I'd be interested to see a 7 of 9 that's not like from Picard, honestly. I mean, knowing Lower Decks, it'd probably be very much like Voyager 7. They're very, nostalgic. On the other hand, and of course she wouldn't really be focal, especially for the finale where we're dealing in Nick and stuff. It'd be a cameo. It'd be the equivalent of Troy in the finale of the first episode. Out of the other people on that list, I really want more about Thomas Riker. Yeah, he's one of the he's one of the times where when I watch Deep Space Nine, he's like, "You'll see me again," or it's like, "We'll do everything to break you out," and I go, "No, you won't." And that'd be one more "no, you won't" just off my list. But I could see. Well, maybe it could be next episode. I'd feel that's quick, but hey, I critique Lower Decks for being quick. If you have a thing where we find all these old, like, prisoners of war or lost in action, this could even be why Nick is here, who's like, Starfleet abandoned us, and actually Sito is with Nick, and so is Thomas Riker is with Nick, because, like, Starfleet basically abandoned them. We know what happened to Nick. Thomas got sent to, like, a Cardassian labor camp, and then just never heard from Starfleet again. Even though you've got the Defiant, you've got Ducat, and even though between his capture, like after his capture, Cardassia had a much more friendly relationship with Bajor and the Federation right before the coup. They probably could have gotten him released. And Sito, of course, basically went off to do whatever spy thing, sent the information back, and then was never heard from again. And they could easily have ended up in the same camp. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because mentioning Thomas Riker specifically, if you're not going to have them in the show, you could mention literally anybody. But Thomas Riker, Sito, and Nick both have reasons that they could be working together. I mean, Sito is friends with Nick. Sito could have become friends with Thomas. We kind of just had a plot point in this episode where, hey, the criminal underbelly especially feels undermined because Starfleet doesn't respect them because they're not Federation. The more I think about it, thematically, it would make a lot of sense. And you could do a whole bunch of interesting thing with Mariner just starting to come to terms with the loss of Sito, realizing actually Sito's the enemy here, and I have to directly fight them, and have a scene where I explain what your death did to me, and now you're back fighting the Federation. Can I place my guess for like a season 12? Season 12, episode 10. Because thematically, that all comes together. Can't wait to see if you're right. Like, kind of logically, it feels a lot. You'd have to bring back Tom Paris, Jonathan Frakes, and whoever Sito is. He's like 50-something now. They might not be acting. They might be doing something totally different. I don't know. Theoretically, you could recast. Let's be honest, who actually remembers what she sounds like? But thematically, with everything that just happened, it would make... It just comes together so neatly. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. If that's not what they're building up to, it is quite a coincidence that that story would work. I'm sorry, I just have to check. I think I saw the inner fight. Yep. Do we know what the next episode of Lower Decks is called? We do not, but it would not surprise me. There's probably some other, like, disillusioned people you could bring back, but I don't know who to think. I've already pitched a fairly packed, though. But especially because, like, you know, Jonathan Frakes is on set all the time. He's not too hard to get, but we'll see. Yes, let's go on to the beginning part of the episode. Best Trek, worst Trek. This episode also brings up the fact that at some point in the future, Lower Decks needs an episode touching on the 3 remaining Lower Deckers from TNG, and probably the random 10 forward wait or 2. I don't know. I feel like we didn't need to bring them back, but you could easily do that. You could easily, because, you know, these are people we've established. Mariner probably knows, at the very least in passing. Like, she recognizes Nick on sight. I wonder if there'll be a reference to the fact that Nick looks and sounds exactly like Tom Paris. I would not be surprised if that is cited as one of his motivations for going against Starfleet, is that he's overshadowed by Tom Paris. Like, is a passing joke. But hey, at least we now have a point for Nick not to just be Tom Paris. Like, I know a lot of people kind of headcanon that Tom Paris is just Nick. I think it was supposed to be, but Rick Berman is afraid of cross-series. It's very weird if you look into some of the things, like, the TNG episode with the, where they had to relocate that Native American tribe is supposed to set up Chakotay. Rick Berman asked for it, but then he got too scared to include Chakotay specifically because it was a different show. Rick Berman asked Deep Space Nine to write the Maquis two-parter, and he basically did nothing except say what the Maquis had to be, and he insisted he'd write his name as a writer's credit, in I think this really annoyed Ira because he was like, "Are you afraid I'm gonna sue you or something? This is a franchise. Like you're allowed to use the Maquis." Um, yeah, it's kind of weird, like how much he set up Voyager in TNG and Deep Space Nine, then just didn't use it. Not the Nova Squadron, the character from Lower Decks, and not in the next episode, but in a future season. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. It's just they were all friends with Nick, which is why Mariner kind of knows him in passing. You think Mariner went to the academy with Nog? You can't bring back Nog, obviously, but maybe that's too far apart in time, because Nog joined the academy deep in the war, but that would have been kind of fun if Mariner knew Nog, and it makes sense. Like she's friends with a lot of Ferengi. Is that racist? That was probably, but yeah, no, that would have been a fun little detail to add. Well, I guess there is a captain. Well, not a Captain Nog, but Nog's doing stuff in Starfleet right now. You just obviously can't really bring him back. No, Mariner was graduated by Nog's time, yeah. I don't know if we actually know. Like, there's been a lot of debate about, like, exactly how old Mariner is, which I think this was planned. I think they planned for Mariner to know Sito, because not just the name of the show, which helps, like, is a direct reference to that episode, but the speculation around how old she might be always kind of put her at the academy around that time of Sito and Wesley and Nick. I'd actually be surprised if, maybe not all the details, but the fact that she knew Sito and that affects her in some way was planned from the beginning, because this is a well-written show. But Mariner is closer to Tony Newsom's real age, which is older than me. Yeah, I don't know, but just because some of the things we've seen, like we've seen her in Deep Space Nine era uniforms on Deep Space Nine, but now we know she was at the academy with Sito. So that puts her graduating. That's season 5. I don't know what year they were in. Let's say you're at the academy for 4 years, because why not? 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. That's like, yeah, just about the start of the Dominion War. A bit before. Potentially a year or two in. No, the Dominion War is actually pretty late, isn't it? It's like 4 or 5. I'm always amazed how long it takes for the Dominion War to start. But anyway, yeah, she's like entering Starfleet just about when things really hit the fan. Which I think, especially for a show set now, is a great direction to take it. Especially because you probably want to move the show closer towards the Utopia. And more to like what the Federation was in early TNG, which Prodigy I think shows the little Federation that's there. Lower Decks is showing. Picard is the only one that's not, but that's like 20 years after a major galactic event. You know, we're allowed to have a bit of development. There is a lot of time when Boimler will say how you're the same age as me, but he does it as like a question. Oh no, that's true. Well, I think Boimler actually doesn't know, if I remember kind of those early season. Because I know there's lines where he's like, aren't you the same age as me? But even if they are the same age, there's always the possibility Boimler just joined Starfleet later in life, or spent more time in the academy. Maybe he took more classes. We don't know. Maybe Mariner rushed through. I mean, she's around the time you would have, not Red Squad, but whatever the heck Nick's group was. What was that called? Someone said it. Not Nova Squadron. Oh, is it Red? Nova? I don't remember. I think it is Nova Squadron. I don't know. That would be fun if there's more to it than just Sheen Moore as the average daughter of the captain. Yeah, no, I think now we've firmly established she went through that stuff. It was always kind of hinted at that she probably would have been an officer at that time, but especially knowing that, well, she didn't work on Deep Space Nine. I guess she was on a ship that visited Deep Space Nine once, but that does mean that she was at least in the area. They had first contact uniforms, so it would have been pretty close to the Dominion War, even if it hadn't started already. But even if she's not there, you know, the Enterprise fought in the war, just somewhere else. Also, the Binars aren't in the Federation? That one felt a little odd to me. I don't think they are, but, oh, look at that. I think I clocked that and forgot about it. The original Doderidax concept that a lot of people seem to adore for some reason. I don't know. I've never gotten it. Choo-choo. What else? I think I talked already about a lot of this. Yeah, it's just very much, you know, they start off at this random outpost. You know, as a cold open that's totally disconnected from everything, which can be fine. But then there's the meeting about, you know, what they're going to do and what do we do about Mariner. And then they take the shuttle to the planet to repair the beacon, seen from the B-plot. And then they get attacked by Klingons and they crash land. And then they hear some kind of predator and Mariner charges in, but they have to run away. And then they discover the Ferengi and the Romulan. And then Mariner attacks them, and then seen from the B-plot. And then they hide out. Oh no, then they get attacked by more aliens, and then they have to hide out at the tree, and then Mariner gets angry at the friends, and then she leaves. And then you kind of can't describe the plot as and then, and then, and then, and then, and then. But if you can describe a plot as and then, and then, and then, and then, that's a sign that it's not great. And it felt to be a bit weird watching it, at least to me, that we kind of just moved from scene to scene to scene to scene. Yeah, the first part of this episode wasn't great. I mean, it had its moments, but it just like kind of and then nature. Because I mean, I think we can kind of figure these are the people from Nick's ship, what we now know as Nick's ship, because we have to come up to the conclusion. So we, you know, we're coming up to the conclusion of that arc, so we kind of know what's going on. I assume if you remember well enough, you can probably recognize this specific Ferengi and Romulan is the Ferengi and Romulan we saw in one of the cold opens where their ship was attacked. So not only is it very and then, we probably know more of the answers than the crew, and we're just waiting to actually be told or shown what the answer is. Because we're like, okay, we're gonna figure out what's happening this episode. Let's just get to that. Be fun if there's motivate. Stress-free. Howdy, y'all. I can see the Binars joining the Federation, finding out they have Data, who made a very good impression. Plus, the Binars could really use Federation protection. And I think the Federation saving their entire species under false pretenses and then not prosecuting them for anything is probably a good sign. But, you know, not everyone has to be in the Federation. I just thought, especially early in TNG, they would be. But I think they might have been outside help. I don't remember. This is why I felt they were watching that new cartoon is like they're trying to cram in too much movement into the show. It's not too much movement. I think it's the way it's done. We very much, like, technically the scenes chronologically followed each other, but there wasn't a lot linking it, and the plot, like, the transition from one scene to another was very much kind of the team heard something and ran to check it out. It didn't flow as naturally, but once we started getting into the character development, which has always been the strong suit of Lower Decks, then technically you can go and then Mariner fought the Klingon and then they were in a cave and then they left. But you're missing out. You're skipping over a lot of meat when you do that. You have to discuss, like, if you really want to summarize the plot, you have to at least a little bit get into how Mariner's feelings and what we learn in those revelations, which is why it's not just the words and then X and then Y and then Z. One series of the show to one episode of the show. I mean, yeah, it has problems. I've addressed already. I think there's problems with the structure of its arcs, especially when you realize that they introduce something at the start of a season, we sit around for most of the season, then we very quickly find out what's happening and resolve it. Even when we don't, like Boimler goes and joins the Titan, and then we very quickly boot him back into Modem, and it's the status quo again. We kill off Shax and we get Kayshawn, and then very quickly Shax just shows up again, and Shax is back. And is Kayshawn even in this season? Like, we just kind of got rid of that guy. Genuine question, is Kayshawn in this season? I think he shows up for at least an episode, right? There's a line where someone, I think it's Ransom, says something in the Temerian language, and he's like, see, I have been learning, you know, but yeah, he really got sidelined. It's like if they killed Tasha, they promoted Worf, and then Tasha just showed up a few episodes later as like, well, I guess you're both security officers. Like, what would be the point of Worf then? Yeah, it was kind of weird. I again probably really don't have much to talk about this early part of the episode. It was very and then. I'm noticing now, I don't think there's many references in this episode at all. I mean, the alien races are ones we know, and the Binars, but, like, they kind of, yes, they're ones we know. There's the puppet reference. You get some name drops at the beginning, but they're going after, well, prominent Starfleet officers. Ooh, hang on. Let's backtrack a bit. Oh, wait, no, they're going after Thomas, not Will. Who are they going after? 7 of 9. Beverly. And Thomas. Well, Nick's on the list. So I think you can say Nick's maybe either Thomas is, a flag, or they get in because Thomas is involved, or Nick thinks Thomas could join his side. I don't know. What's Beverly doing at this point in the series? Is she still just, like, chief medical officer of the Enterprise? Has she gone off to do what she's doing in Picard? Like, depending on where she is, I could see Nick, you know, not necessarily correctly, but thinking maybe I could get Dr. Crusher on my side, as sort of a forgotten member of Starfleet. 7, I don't know. That one might be hard. If she is receiving a lot of Borg prejudice, maybe. But, for a second, I thought, well, Riker's on this list. Is Thomas Riker actually part of the plan, and they're going after Riker's revenge? Because the other option is 7 and Dr. Crusher have specifically done something to an officer that made them, like, a forgotten. Like, I don't know, did Dr. Crusher do something to Sito, where Sito could have a grudge? I don't think 7 has. Like, she only just got back from the Delta Quadrant, but, that's a potential reason they could be on the list. Like, it's not just random name drops. But, hey, anyway, like, most of the references that are there kind of have to be to facilitate the story. The puppet was the only kind of just callback for callback's sake. Any other callback was, like, internal with Tindy and the Orions, but that makes sense based off what we know about Tindy and her family now. So it was clearly not meant to be a lot of references. Like, the whole point of this episode is to revolve around Mariner and Sito, and the revelation with Nick, who I guess is technically a reference, but still facilitates the story. Especially if they're going to take in the direction of, like, the forgotten Starfleet officers. It makes sense that it would be Nick. It's not just a random, let's get Robert Duncan McNeil in. Yeah, and then the revelation. I mean, I think I've already talked about my thoughts of the revelation. If I had to guess what they're doing, I mean, they've just brought back Nick Locarno. I think we've proven that this isn't the most guessable season. Ooh, and you know what else I've just put together? See this little symbol? That was painted on the bird of prey that came to blow up. That was circling the planet. I noticed that earlier, and I was like, I wonder what that is. Let me try and get it up. But I wonder if we go back, if we'll see that in other parts of the season. There we go. That's good enough. See, it's little painted on the bird of prey. I wonder if that's hidden at various parts of the season. But yeah, I mean, thematically, it seems like with the names we've been presented, that's a very sensible place to go, is that Thomas and Cito are actually a part of this, like potentially just somewhere on this ship. But, that's a lot of work story-wise, and I can see a lot of practical reasons it wouldn't happen. It's just interesting that that'd be I'd love it if I call it exactly, and, like, have that recorded with a live timestamp. Good, but, yeah, we'll see. Full helmets get hot? Yep. weren't the Breen ones just, like, awful to wear? You couldn't see out of them. They're just incredibly hot. I remember reading It's a Nightmare. Like, there's a scene, well, it was a blooper. I don't think it's actually filmed, but, where one of the Breen soldiers was, like, just walking out of a room, whatever, and you can't see in the helmets. He kind of banged against a wall, and, like, the actor just kept trying to leave the scene and, like, hitting his head against a bunch of things and, like, falling over, and the crew was like, just stop, please, the take is ruined. Like, we can't use it, but, by God, that actor was gonna try. But yeah, we'll see. There we go. Special guest star Robert Duncan McNeil is Nick Ricardo. Isn't it amazing that we don't put that at the start of the episodes anymore? I always hated when, like, you'd start an episode and it'd list Jeffrey Combs as Brunt. Like, what's his face? Is Gowron. I don't know who plays Gowron, man. And it's like, oh yeah, it's been like the last episode of Deep Space Nine especially is like just a full list of all your cameos, and it's like, wouldn't it have been nice to know that not know that Ducat was in this episode or something? But yeah, this will be interesting because this ship does look quite advanced. It doesn't really speak Federation so much. Like, if anything, it might fit in the Discovery, like the 31st century. Maybe there is, like, time stuff going on. Especially now that we know a lot more what that, like, 30th, 31st century looks like. I mean, look at that thing. That's not a normal ship. So I don't know. There could be more to it. It might just be Nick, but thematically, I think it would make sense to do what I described earlier. I don't know where we'll go, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. Especially if it is a commentary on, like, some of Starfleet's failings. I think Lower Decks has always brought really interesting perspectives. Even this whole thing about Mariner and Cito, like, bringing it down to the individual officer, that you could also expand, like I did, to talk about how the Federation must be feeling as a whole. I love these perspectives that I don't think Star Trek has ever really covered before, or at least not like this. I mean, one of my favorite things about the first season of Lower Decks was the whole, that's Starfleet for you, good at fixing, bad at maintenance. It just had such an interesting, fresh take on this Federation that made sense, but also, like, that's important. It made sense. You can't just do a Star Trek Picard. But I hadn't even seen in, like, fan circles circling around. I loved it. And I would absolutely not complain if we did more of that. time to go back and watch it again and look for it. If you do that, Jack's Law, write down like a little list and then put it in the chat, because I'm probably not gonna go back and watch the whole thing, like just time-wise. But I'd be curious if it shows up in little places here and there. I don't think it's on the big ship anywhere. Like, I don't think it's on that. And their weapons, like, extremely powerful, isn't it? Like, they're a thing. This purpley, that's kind of Dominion. This capsule is vaguely Klingon shuttle-shaped. This engraving, I don't know. Like, ooh, actually, it is, I was gonna say Star Trek Online Iconian. Maybe this could, I mean, it looks like Nick built it. Maybe this could be Iconian, and it's like a Stowe reference. I might be ending the stream soon, because Big White Van is pulled up, and I have people installing gutters that might not have called ahead. But I think we were wrapping up anyway. But yeah, there's... yeah, that's the closest thing it looks to me is like Star Trek Online Iconian. But that'd be kind of surprising. If anything, it'd be a little reference. It's not like huge that it's Iconian. It's not like they're returning or anything. I think I've probably got gutter people. It's just a big white van sitting in the outside. Or it's there's like a spy satellite. Is that one of you? What was I saying? I keep wanting to see if someone gets out of the big white van. At least it's not a black van. That'd be like the FBI or something, you know. Is there anything I want to wrap up real quick? Can't wait to see the next one. Yep. And then we got a big gap, don't we? I'll probably talk about that next time, given the big one. It's unbranded. Doesn't even say, like, so-and-so gutters. It's like, I don't know. Maybe they're lost. But, just sitting there. Alright, yeah. I'm probably going to wrap it up. I don't even know if there's much else I have to say. Actually, let's take a look around his little workspace to see if we can find any clues. Because that's a pretty generic hander. Wait, hang on. He had, look at that. He has little... Did you see that? I went back 10 seconds and forward 10 seconds to a different frame. But he has little pins on the back of his pin board that doesn't look like it pivots. It's secured in 2 spots. Oh, my white van is leaving. There we go. All right. Was that one of you? Are you spying on me? Are you trying to figure out where I live? Whoops. That was a break. Yeah. Is there anything in here? I'm going to hide this just for copyright. I mean, it's pretty generic. Yeah, it's just you got these weird kids' fridge magnets. Oh, that's the thing it kind of reminded me of, is, it's much more Cubist, but the little time travel thing from the episode that was supposed to have, see, I always forget his name. Alex! They're gone. The guy who played the genie in Aladdin, Robin Williams, there we go, is the guy that was supposed to be Robin Williams. It's okay, I remembered. But yeah, I think I'll probably call it there. It was a bit quicker, but yeah, looking forward to the episode. It's also a little Delta Flyer, which I know Nick isn't Tom Paris, but yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I'm glad you could join me for an actually live stream. I'm gonna have to remember to add the Destiny of the Daleks Part 2 Remastered back to my queue, so I can get Picard backed up. And yeah, David C., thank you for the $20. Late to the party. We'll watch the stream again tonight. I hope you enjoy. Maybe that white van was part of Nick's group, like, you know, this is pretty white, it's vaguely van size. Maybe he's onto me. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's Nick. But yeah, I'll say, actually, no, the white van's gone. So I probably We got the release dates for the Doctor Who specials. They're going to be the 20... Oh, wait, these are Saturdays. I might have to check time. They're going to be the 25th, the 2nd, and the 9th. I'm not really going to want to watch TOS as opposed to the Doctor Who 60th anniversary things. So there's like 2 weeks between that and the specials. So there's a good chance I'll cover those just as like a test, as something fun we can do. 'Cause it's a huge gap till probably Prodigy. I think Prodigy is Q1 next year. Might be Q2. I genuinely don't remember. But yeah, in a few weeks, I've got people coming to sort out. Our basement's got like a radon problem, and that's been kind of stopping me from setting up the film equipment.
What?
And nothing. I'm talking about the radon in the basement.
Oh, the poison we keep in the basement, right?
Yeah, that's
The basement for poison.
that's kind of where all the like office space and where I do reviews and videos are, and so that's kind of holding me back. But after that happens, I should get more videos. I might edit some stuff I've got in the backlog of like Alex reviewing Starships. I did one of those that we're sitting on for ages, but we'll see. We'll watch again tonight. LOL 2 Doctor Who for sure. There we go. Hey Alex.
What?
Can you do a thumbnail art is me and the 4th Doctor within like the next month-ish?
Yeah.
There we go. Now it's official. And if it's fun, we might just keep doing Doctor Who. Like there'll be the Christmas special. I don't know season 14, but they probably won't overlap with how little Star Trek there's going to be. We'll see how things go, and I might branch out to do some of the older stuff. I was going to say I could do a Dr. Donna watch through. It's a little late for that. But we'll see. I do want to get through the older Star Trek, because of course, people who watch me I know are fans of Star Trek. They might not be a fan of Doctor Who. And a lot of people probably are interested how I feel about the older episodes. So we'll see how things play along. But yeah, I'll probably cover Doctor Who as it comes back. So yeah, after that, I will say